Hey guys, and today is a big day because Mojang added custom crafting. So directly following a pretty controversial update where Mojang changed all of MBT to components, this new format which has some MBT stuff associated but is completely restructured, changing everybody's commands that involve items, we have received an update that maybe helps justify that, and that is with custom crafting. Now, we don't exactly have custom crafting for items going into the crafting table, but once coming out, we can put whatever components we want. And so in this example, I've just created a diamond in a recipe called new, and it is a crafting shaped recipe, and it still has these group and category tags from the boat, which I copied over. But the important thing is that the results contains a crafting table which has components. So it is formatted exactly how you would expect. If I go into game and I do give at p crafting table and I type in, I don't know, custom data, and then I type in hello world, and I do that, okay? If I do that, I just need to take this word that I used for the components, put quotes around it, and throw it inside the components curly braces. And then I put quotes, curly braces around that, and then put quotes around this word that I put here, and then put the value on the right of that. So it basically is the same way that you transform data. So anything that has a key with an equals becomes quotes around it with a colon, and curly braces become curly braces, and that's really it. And so I also threw in custom name, which has a text which says hello world in green, just like that. So with this, it will simplify a lot of creations which require some kind of custom crafting output. I guess you would see this really help or be a benefit in those data packs that add maybe one really small thing to the game that you're able to craft. Like I don't know, like if you're just crafting a spaceship, right? That'll make it so much easier because you're going to use default items anyways. And then the output doesn't need to be a knowledge book. It can literally be the item that you created with custom model data and everything. So that is super cool. And in addition to that, they also gave us another update, which probably isn't related to MBT component crafting, but is just a quality of life feature. And that is execute if items. So there is a new sub predicate for, or sub command for execute if, and that is items, which allows you to check for items like you're doing /clear and counting up how many items there are, or if there are any items there. And so what this does is execute if items will return how many items match the following tests. And so the test can be, you can check for entities or a block. So you can check items inside a container or items on a player. And then you can check the slot, and they added a whole bunch of new slots. So let's take a look at those. So in here, in the data pack version 34 changes, we see that now we can add component data to recipe results, but they also made some changes to slots predicates. So one thing they did was they added the .star convention, which lets you check every single slot inside that subdirectory. So what that means is for stuff like inventory, which has multiple values, you don't have to create 26 commands or 27 commands checking all the inventory slots. It'll just be inventory.star to check all the slots. And so now you can use this in place of /clear and or in place of multiple checks. And so you can use this for all the slots that have multiple outputs, so weapon, armor, ender chest, container, all that. But in addition to that, you also have these new ones called player cursor, which we never had access before, which lets us see what the player has clicked on in their hand. Of course, you would think that this would make things for UI better. It doesn't necessarily, because you're able to shift click things, and so you'll still need to check for those edge conditions. But for people that are just normally clicking through UI, this could make your UI a lot cleaner and a lot easier to code. We also have player.crafting, which allows us to access the crafting slots in the inventory when you're in survival mode. This is also a new feature. We weren't able to see those slots, so if a player put something up there, it would basically be gone from our system. And so now we can see it in the system and access it, which is great. I believe all these also apply to the /item command, so it's not in just in the if items, so you can use it to manipulate these item slots, which is kind of cool, kind of interesting. You might be able to do something like auto crafting if you want to just automatically load items into that crafting UI in the top right. So that could be a cool feature. Now, we'll just take a look at how to actually test these things. So I have this crafting table, which has a component, and I want to check for the component. So I use the open brackets, and then I use custom data, and I look for hello world, just like this, just like I had typed in the chat a second ago. And so what this will do is if I'm in survival and I click on the hello world, it will say hello world. We can also remove this, and you could store results, and it will tell you how many match. So it works in place of /clear0 essentially. So I can do this, execute if items, and it will tell me if the test failed or how many of them succeed. Now I can use inventory.star, and it'll tell me how many are in my inventory. It says there's 2. So if I run it into my hotbar, there's nothing in my inventory that has it, so it will fail. And so if you want to actually detect something that's in both the hotbar and the inventory, you actually need to use container for players. And then finally, we can see if it's up in the crafting tables, but that's kind of hard to do if I'm typing it in chat because it'll exit that UI immediately. So really the interesting discussion is whether this update justifies the changes to MBT. And personally, for the type of stuff I like to do, this does not justify it for me yet, but I'm pretty hopeful that they'll be adding some new features in the future that are based on the MBT stuff that we've never seen before. So it's definitely a step in the right direction. For people that use crafting in their data packs a lot, this might justify the change. But for the rest of us that don't use it too often, we're still waiting to see what they add next. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and leave a like, and I'll see you next time. Peace.